On the night of July 3rd, 1956, in Bay Village, Ohio, Sam Sheppard's wife Marilyn was bludgeoned to death in their home. It was a horrifying crime scene. Blood everywhere. A struggle that looked like it had lasted several minutes. When police arrived, they found Dr. Sheppard claiming he had been asleep on the couch downstairs when Marilyn was attacked. He swore that he ran upstairs, saw a bushy-haired intruder, and fought with him, only to be knocked unconscious. Sounds unbelievable, right? The police thought so too, in their eyes. This was a classic story of a husband who murdered his wife and tried to cover it up. But here's the first shocking inconsistency. There was no physical evidence linking Sam to the murder. His clothes didn't have Marilyn's blood. His fingerprints weren't on the murder weapon. And the injuries on his body actually suggested he'd been in a fight. Still, the authorities were convinced. And the FBI? They backed the local police, saying the intruder's story was too far-fetched. The trial became a media circus. Newspapers painted Sam Sheppard as a cheating husband, a man living a double life, someone capable of murder. The prosecution leaned heavily on his supposed affair and his convenient memory lapse. And despite the lack of hard evidence, the jury convicted him of second-degree murder. A respected doctor, once admired in his community, was sent to prison as a killer. But here's where things take a wild turn. 10 years later, Sam's case caught the attention of a young, ambitious lawyer, none other than F. Lee Bailey, who would go on to defend O.J. Simpson decades later. Bailey saw something strange. The evidence didn't add up. The blood spatter in the bedroom suggested the killer was left-handed. Sam Sheppard? He was right-handed. The murder weapon, believed to be a surgical instrument, was never found. But fibers from a man's jacket, not Sam's, were discovered at the scene. Even more disturbing, years later, a convicted murderer named Richard Eberlin, who had worked as a Sheppard's handyman, admitted to knowing too much about the crime scene. It looked like Sam Sheppard had been framed not by a conspiracy, but by the perfect storm of bad policing, media frenzy, and FBI misjudgment. In 1966, after serving nearly a decade in prison, Sam Sheppard's conviction was overturned. The court ruled that his first trial had been a mockery of justice. He was retried, and this time the jury acquitted him. The killer who supposedly fooled the FBI may never have been a killer at all. But here's the tragic twist. Sam Sheppard was a free man, but freedom didn't bring him peace. His reputation was destroyed, his medical career ruined, and his personal life shattered. He spiraled into alcoholism, and just a few years after his release, he died at only 46 years old. Decades later, DNA testing on evidence from the crime scene suggested that someone else, possibly the handyman, Richard Eberling, had actually been the killer. So, was Sam Sheppard an innocent man who paid the ultimate price for a crime he didn't commit? Or was he a brilliant manipulator who slipped through the cracks of justice? What makes this case unforgettable isn't just a brutal murder. It's how the system itself seemed to bend under the weight of public pressure, bad science, and human error. The FBI didn't solve this case. If anything, they helped bury the truth. And that's why the story of Dr. Sam Sheppard will always be remembered as one of America's most chilling miscarriages of justice.